that pressure can really like mess with your head. And I think I've been just having a lot of mental blocks lately because of it. I competed at Wodapalooza as well. And then I got really sick after. I was sick for like 2 weeks. I think at that point I had more of a flu sickness. And then trying to get back into training again because Open was coming up and training just felt really hard. I wasn't super, I don't know if motivated is the right word. I just wasn't really like enjoying training because nothing felt good after coming off of being sick. Everything felt heavy.
Well, Wodapalooza was a terrible place.
I didn't feel in shape.
Got sick, got injured.
But it was tough. And I was just like, listen, you're going to be fine. The Open doesn't really matter. It's whatever. And so I just kept telling myself that. I kept training. And then coincidentally, I was also dealing with a shoulder injury that I've literally never had and a hamstring injury. Everything just popped up.
Wait, you had 2 injuries?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, man.
Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff going on.
Wow, I mean, I just think that's amazing that I'm here all the time and I had no clue.
Yeah, and we just worked around it. And so that first Open workout was the first time I was doing muscle-ups in a workout since Wodapalooza because my shoulder, I just physically couldn't do them. And I just kind of took it 1 week at a time. That workout, obviously, I was like, if it was any other time of the year, I would have loved that workout. But because I hadn't done muscle ups, I was really just kind of insecure going into it and a little bit scared. And did that one, was hoping I would just get momentum throughout the Open. And then, I don't know, one thing led to another. And then I got sick again and just haven't honestly felt like myself since before Wodapalooza. So it's been really rough. I feel like my motivation is low. I don't feel like myself. I feel like I'm in someone else's body, and it's just not a good feeling. And
Travis, you've had this?
Yeah, I mean, we sat down and actually talked, I don't know, for a while yesterday, just kind of about the whole feelings of this and how, like, I go through it, Lauren's gone through it, Alexis has gone through it, that in the moment, it's hard to view yourself or identity differently because, like, that's, like, you feel good, you want to compete. That's, like, when everything clicks, it builds the momentum for the season and starts you off on the right foot. And, like, taking a third, like, regardless if you repeated workouts, like, that feeling of being like, man, I took third in the world, like, I feel good. Like, I'm ready to start the season. And to be like, oh man, I've been sick, my shoulder hurts, my hamstring's bothering me, like I'm not performing the way I want, then it just kind of starts to creep into these like little self-doubts and am I as good as I think I am? Am I going to perform? Am I going to be okay for sort of finals?
Is that one of those things where no matter how hard you can't really turn it off, I would assume? Or
I think it depends on the season because I feel like at the beginning of the year, I always feel like was the hardest for me because it was the least in shape I felt prior to like the games per se, where when you're going to the games, I mean, your fitness feels very good. And I think you compare that fitness to what's happening in the Open. And I think you're missing the fact of it, all the buildup over the last 7 months to get you to that point, how much fitness takes place versus you had kind of your off season, you did Rogue, then you came back, you kind of trained, you traveled, you got sick. Then you're going to Wodapalooza. Like, you haven't really found a big structure. And then usually once the season starts, then that kind of really starts your training structure. And, like, I think that's when you just start to build the confidence. And I think it's always hard when that's not taking place in the Open, like, currently. But when we sat down and talked yesterday, I was like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's at 0 now, right? Like, it starts over. Well, it doesn't matter. You can start to build your own momentum going forward.
I mean, it has to not matter because it wasn't last year you weren't having the great intro to the season, and then you were like fucking Superman.
Yeah, and that's what I was comparing to. I was like, you just have to shift your mindset and thought process, and I was like, you just need to control the things that you can control. I was like, whether that's like you're taking your ice baths, you're going to bed earlier, you're getting all your food in, like control the things you can control. Things happen, like my hand, your shoulder, hamstring, like those things are going to happen regardless. But if you've taken care of the other things that are in your control, then I think it's going to build your own confidence. Then you just start having more self-belief. Then when you go into workouts, you feel more confident. And then it just ultimately just kind of trickles down. And then overall, your fitness just feels better. But I think it's the evolution of every single year. I think it always would happen to me at some point in time where I second guess myself. You doubt, like, I think everybody has those things, but it's the ones that are able to separate it, put it in the past, move on. The sickness you can't control, the injuries you can't control. Well, I mean, some of those you can control by warming up properly and whatnot. But for the most part, just being smart with how you're actually going about things. And that was like simple things. It was like, well, what time are you going to bed? She's like, well, like 11. I was like, all right, well, there's a simple one. Like, try to start going to bed earlier, like getting more sleep. Because then she's like, well, I'm tired. And it's like, well, just start to prioritize the things that are like really important if you're wanting this to be the goal of what you're pursuing. Like, you have to make sure all those little details are dialed in. And I think that's the whole start of the season. And that's why I always feel like I always got better towards semifinals in the games, is because that's when I always felt like I was even more fired up and excited, because like my fitness was coming back. I was staying on top of my nutrition. I was sleeping better, and all those things.
And like fuels itself.
Yeah. And I think that's sometimes finding the motivation or the drive. Like, it's hard, but the day in and day out, the grind, that's the stuff that will get you better. Like, it's not going to feel great every day. Yeah. Like, even me jumping back into trying to hit this sub 5 minute and squat 500 goal, it does not feel good running 6 minute mile repeats right now. Like, that just, where leading up to the games, we were running 5Ks at a 5:45 pace.
And feeling good.
Yeah. And so it's like you just got to accept that it's going to be difficult and hard.
I imagine that it's hard to know that you're capable of one thing and do it for a good period of time, and then have to be like, oh, I'm not there right now.
Yeah, it's so hard.
Especially when you're at the highest level, which you guys are, like, because that happens to everybody. You'll be at a peak for you, and then something will happen, you'll come down, maybe you focus on other things. But I got to imagine when you're at the elite level, it's like,
I feel like it's just more psychological.
Especially with eyeballs on you. And
yeah, and I think that was even something we were talking about yesterday, is just the expectation. Like, the year before, right, she didn't qualify, then she qualified and like had no expectation of what was going to happen. Like, you have the goal of like, yeah, I want to play top 10. Great. But like, then go do it and execute it. But now it's like, okay, well, you did that. Now you have more eyes on you. You have more people watching you. They see your handstand push-up capabilities. People talk, oh, Alexis could win this in the world. And then it's like, okay, well, now I really need to perform. And then you start adding this extra pressure that just isn't necessary, which I've done plenty of years of the games from podcasts we've done over and over, that it just doesn't help. And I think staying true to you, finding the things that motivate you and push you, those are the things that are going to build your fire back and motivation, and just sticking to the process and understanding that it might not be great now, but in 3 or 4 months, like, you'll be where you need to be when it matters the most. And I think that's just a hard thing to just let go and disregard based off of how you're actually feeling.
Right.
Yeah. Because I think last year at this time, I started the season well in the Open, and so it created that momentum that he was talking about, and it just led into quarterfinals and then semifinals. And by the time I was at semifinals, I felt like
I'm a golden god.
I felt so good. I had no doubt in my mind that I was making it to the games. It was just, I was locked in. And I think this might be a blessing in disguise that I'm, where I'm at right now, because to be that fit and hold that fitness, like Travis and I were talking about yesterday, can be really hard. And so I think just building on it every week, and going through all this stuff now opposed to when it really does matter, I think is great. As shitty as it is right now, and I obviously don't want to be going through this, but I think times where you do feel sorry for yourself and you're frustrated and you're annoyed and you're pissed off and nothing's going your way and your body hates you, it lights a fire in you that I think you just you can't just light this, you need a little bit of fuel for that. And like I said, I think that I needed this. And I'm excited to build on it. I truly believe that I'm going to be really fit and really strong when I need to be. And even though it's not going the way I want it to, I do trust the process. I know I can get really fit in 1 month. I did it before Rogue.
Yeah.
So give me 2 or 3 months and I know I'm going to be fine. But it's the day-to-day stuff when you don't want to come to the gym, but you know that you have to. Just pushing through that for a couple weeks, it's really hard. But it is helpful being here because I have so many people around me to help me when I am feeling kind of in a rut. And now more than ever, it's just like focusing on the littlest things. Like last night I went to bed 30 minutes earlier.
Well,
and
hold on. On that note, I wanted to ask you, because Travis alluded to that as well. It's like last year you didn't have a target on your back, you know.
Yeah.
It was like kind of, all right, let's see what we do. Mm-hmm. Well, now, isn't this your first year as a full-time professional athlete?
Yeah.
I think last year you were still doing school, still had some other things going on.
Yeah.
So what has that been like? How has navigating that been?
I think it's just even a little bit more pressure, if I'm being honest, because it's like, okay, you have no other obligations to like school or whatever else, you know.
4 kids.
Yeah, 4 kids. Like for me, this is everything. And so if I'm putting everything I have into this, I need to be really good. Yeah. Like in my head, there's
like
no
back out.
Yeah, there's no excuse. Like you need to be the best. And you know, no one else really puts that pressure on me. It's myself, and I think that you need that to be one of the best. But it is kind of like a double-edged sword or whatever they call it. Like it's such a good thing, and it drives you and it makes you who you are. Like I honestly believe that's why I am the way I am. But that pressure can really like mess with your head. And I think I've been just having a lot of mental blocks lately because of it. And Adam and I were talking about it yesterday, and it's like last year I felt like I was competing absolutely fearless and just not scared, I guess. And I found myself kind of creeping back into that, like being worried or being scared, thinking about what could go wrong, opposed to just trying and seeing what happens. And so I want to take the next month to really build that back up and work on my head and take a lot more positives away than just think about all the negatives that are going wrong. So it's a lot of work. Yeah. I know I have a lot of work to do, but I'm down to do the work.
I know for me personally, when I need that confidence back, and I'm not doing what y'all are doing, but just this could go for anybody and whatever you're doing. When I need that confidence back, the only thing that really seems to do it, whatever goals I've set out and the things I know are right, just make sure you tick those boxes.
Yeah.
Consistently tick those boxes.
Yeah.
Like you a second ago said, go to bed, buy whatever. If you you pick the time, but if you know that's the time, did I do it? And just
just
have more check marks, doing the things you said you were going to do. Because it's almost
building
like
all the confidence.
Yeah, it's not even, it's just building the belief in yourself that you can do the things you said you were going to do, even the easy things. So if you get the easy things, then sorry, little rant.
Just tiniest little things like taking your vitamins before bed.
Perfect.
You know,
exactly.
Like you're tired and you don't want to do that, but it takes 5 seconds? Like your creatine, like all those little things.
It seems silly, but if you get that check box, you know, now when you're feeling a little, you know, you feel more confident because it's like I've done all my stuff.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think like right now, like Lauren and I have but doing part of what's called like a 75 hard challenge. So it's part of like reading 10 pages, a book, drinking a gallon of water, sticking to a nutrition plan, 2 45-minute workouts, which is my normal training anyway. But just simple things like that. And then every day you're like checking off that you did it. And it just starts to build the momentum of itself, where like a week ago I was like, what am I doing? Like why am I training? Like what am I doing right now?
It's all about the momentum.
Right?
Yep.
And that's all it is. And those little things start to pick up. You start to see a little bit of results. I'm like, oh, okay, I've lost a few pounds. My engine's starting to feel better. And then you just start to like, then for me, like now I'm already kind of like back into my groove. Like, oh, okay, there it is. Like, but the hard part's getting back into that rhythm and kickstarting it to actually take place.
What
and
book
I think
did you start with?
I'm reading my
Red Fish,
two
Blue
brain.
Fish,
No,
One
I'm
Fish, Two
doing
Fish.
my like 2 brain business mentorship book and stuff. For me, like reading, I've never been a big fan of. Like I just don't. I'd rather do audiobooks or something else.
Are you a reader, Alexis?
No.
But to sit down and actually read.
I want to be a reader, but I just don't want to.
But it forces me. I'm already like 110 pages in over the course of the last 10, and I'm like, wow, that's like the most I've read in a long time. It might sound ridiculous, but
by just having the minimum requirement of 10 pages
a day. And right, like you start to think about that over the course of 75 days, how many books you'll actually go through and read. And I think that's how you'll build the momentum, even if it comes to training. And I think a lot of people don't realize at the highest level, all of us that have these feelings and experiences and disbelief and not comfortable at certain times, but like still being able to prevail and push through it. I think that's then what separates you. Like I even have talks with members like, well, why didn't I perform this way? Or what, like the anticipation, the anxiety, like that's, you have to learn to cope with it and deal with it, put yourself in those stressful situations. And it really makes you learn about yourself and how you handle those things and the adversity. And as Max would always say, the adversity, that's what builds you, blah, blah. Typical Max when he would always answer to me with something. But I think this is just kind of life's way of throwing something at her right now in this time, even myself, of, okay, let's see what you're made of. Is this what you really want? Is this really what you want to pursue? And I think when you're injured or not where you want to be, it really dictates what your next steps are going to be. Like it could be easy to just be like, you know what, I'm done. I did a year. I'm not feeling motivated. And step back. Like there's been plenty of people that have done that. But I think if you're wanting to make a legacy and for yourself and family and future self, whatever it is, but you have to be able to learn from these little things and grow from them. How bad do you actually really want it? And I think that stuff actually really does matter. And
did you have something there?
I would say like yesterday when I was really annoyed, I went home and I didn't even want to come back to the gym. I just kind of like laid down. I was so tired. My body hurt. And I got back here, had my talk with Travis, and Adam came back and he was like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I need a snatch. Like I just need to know that I can hit 155. Like I don't like the way I was snatching earlier. And I like a couple of hours before that, there's no way I would have been thinking I was going to be in the gym snatching, but I didn't really think about it until after I left. I was like, man, you like just that moment of like going back in the gym and hitting 20 snatches perfectly, like you know that you can, made me kind of realize like, oh wow, this is who I am. Like I'm not going to let one little workout get in my head. So you
went back in and hit 20 at what?
It was like we did a ladder, like a snatch ladder, and I hit a bunch at 155, the weight that I missed in that workout. And I didn't really think about it until I got home, but I was like, man, you're pretty badass. Like, you do want this really bad. And in the moment, like, I wasn't thinking that. I'm just, like, annoyed, and I'm like, I just want to snatch, and I don't know, like, my thumbs were all bloody everywhere, and I'm just like, what's wrong with you? And then when I was home just, like, kind of thinking about the whole day, I'm like, you really, really care. You want this so bad. You're not going to let anything stop you or get in your way. And, like, all of these hardships and, you know, setbacks, like, adversity is going to make me tougher, and I fully believe that. And it, as annoying as it is, I think it is going to just pump me up and help me the rest of the season and help me not feel this way again, because the sickness you can't control, but there are things that I can be doing better, like washing my hands before I leave the gym every day. And if someone's sick around me, like, you know, maybe I need to just be in my own little corner in the gym, like be a little bit extra cautious, because I'm always like, oh, I won't get sick. Like I'm fine. But then I get sick. And especially when you're stressed out, like you get sick easier.
Backfires.
Yeah.
The Open is over, and many of you are asking, now what? If you made the top 10%, congratulations, you've earned it. Our RX Path will be prepping for quarterfinals over the next 2 weeks. We will provide you with a comprehensive peaking structure along with detailed warm-ups, pacing plans, and tip videos for each of the quarterfinal workouts. And this will only be delivered to our TDT Compete athletes. This will not be public-facing. For those who did not qualify inside of the top 10%, our intermediate path will start a 3-week base building program that will help you build the foundation for your offseason, where we work on strength and gymnastics development protocols so you can reach your goal of making the top 10% next year. Masters athletes, we have 4 weeks before the age group quarterfinal, which means we are in full swing prepping you for your biggest competition of the year. We have included structured strength and CrossFit progressions that will lead us directly into the quarterfinal weekend, including a quarterfinal simulation with our entire Masters community this weekend. And our elite path, if you have made semifinals, we will write a personalized program for you to properly peak you for the week you're competing. Come join TTT Compete right now. Go to trainingthinktank.com.
Hope you enjoyed this clip of the Corpus Animus Podcast. To hear the full episode where Alexis and Travis talk about why Travis can't compete in the 2023 CrossFit season, what they thought of the 2023 CrossFit Open, mental strategies, and their goals for the rest of the year, check out the audio version on all major podcast providers or peep the other clips here on YouTube.